Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How's
It's
everything?
good. Pretty good. Well, we have a lot of topics to get into today, as usual. And to start it off, well, before we get into that, I just had to ask you a quick question. We've talked about Kawhi. We talked about Toronto. You're not high on it, but has Kawhi Leonard forgotten to laugh? Has he forgotten to laugh, or
His laugh. I feel like I saw the progressions of his laugh from 2010 to now.
Yeah,
it just looks like he's hurting, or he doesn't want people to think he's a robot. He looks so like strained, like it's hard to laugh, like he's a villain.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think he did forget how to laugh.
Yeah,
I see why he doesn't, do interviews with enthusiasm.
No PR, no PR. His
PR.
agent's like quiet, no commercials, no anything.
He makes I don't know, his sense of humor is weird. He was like, I don't even know where you are.
I'm a fun guy.
Oh man, it's like watching paint dry, man. That's crazy.
Well, to start it off, Trevor Lawrence was named the starter for Clemson I think this past Monday, and Kelly Bryant is now gone from Clemson. I think he said like he felt like the demotion was like a slap in the face. He these past couple of years being behind Deshaun Watson, now earning the spot, getting them to the playoff, and I think being the ACC Player of the Year at one point. Was he the ACC Player of the Year or the ACC Offensive Player of the Year?
I think it was Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, okay, Offensive Player of the Year. But there was a ton of hype with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Hunter Johnson, he was a 5-star recruit last year. He left. But with this change, I mean, like Clemson has pretty much had like a run screen offense, and now like the amount of skill players they have, and you have a guy who's just a really talented passer, hasn't made a lot of turnovers yet, and really has the ability to be an amazing talent. What were your thoughts on the move, and also just how Kelly Bryant has taken this and what his future will hold?
I thought it was a slap in the face. I know Coach Sweeney said it was a hard decision to make. He thought it was the best for the team, but I really thought it was a slap to the face of Kelly Bryant, a guy who's sat on the bench, true freshman after Deshaun Watson, and then the guy wins. He started 18 games. He only lost one of those games, I believe, and they're 4-0 this year. It's kind of hard for you to bench a player that you're 4-0. Only one game that you kind of struggle with Texas A&M. And then you put Trevor Lawrence in the game. He didn't move the ball. And then you put Kelly Bryant back in, and he wins the game for you. So it is a slap to the face. He said he's not a distraction or anything. I think it definitely was a slap in the face. Now it gives him an opportunity to go to a team who needs his talents and abilities.
Could that be the Florida Gators?
Yes, it could be the Florida Gators. Some people say it could be Auburn, but I think Stidman's play is okay. Some say it's going to be South Carolina. Some say it's going to be UCLA with Chip Kelly. But I think he stays. I think he goes to the SEC. I know he played the ACC for a year and some change, but I think he'll be a great fit in a SEC scheme. But specifically Florida. I'm hoping he considers Florida because we can use it.
And one of the things I'll say with Lawrence, I mean, the production and data favor Lawrence to me, and had a nine touchdown, two interception TD interception ratio, and in those like 5 possessions against Georgia Tech, I mean, had 4 touchdowns. But one of the things that's really interesting is in the most important game for them this season, Texas A&M. It was Kelly Bryant who was moving the offense. He was the one who had the more productive game in a very important game, and it may be their only, it may be the last game where they have a ranked opponent with how weak the ACC has been for me, it's the timing is the most impressive, the most surprising thing. It was the timing of it, the thing for you that because they have a bye, I think after this week.
And I think the timing was perfect because I think Coach Sweeney understood what he was going to do, but he also wanted to give. I don't know if he knew that Kelly was going to transfer, but I knew he knew that was going to upset him, so he gave him an opportunity. So it's a rule where a senior can be a red shirt if he doesn't play over 4 games, and it kind of worked perfectly for Kelly Bryant. Now he gets to transfer and has 1 more year of eligibility to play, which is perfect timing. So now Coach gets his quarterback that he wants, and then Kelly goes to a team where he fits, and he I guess it kind of builds his draft stock a little more, because I think right now he's a 3rd, 4th round quarterback. He's not a 1st or 2nd round quarterback you go and get, but he can go to a team where he can be under. I think was better than Florida. He's I wouldn't call him a connoisseur of quarterbacks, but I think he does well with good quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, Tim Tebow, different people like that. So right. I think Florida will be definitely a great spot. I know you're probably not gonna listen to this, but if you ever find this, Kelly, come to Gators. Go Gators. That's my plug. That's my
Kelly Bryant, he may listen to the Full Scope podcast. I doubt that, but you never know, man. You never know.
You never know.
Moving on to a team where I think every year in college football there's a team that just catches us off guard. A team that we didn't expect to have the type of season that they had. And so far this year, it's been Kentucky. And Benny Snell has been phenomenal for them. And they're 4-0. And the ranked wins that they have been really impressive against Florida. And then Mississippi State just completely dominating that game. And this is an extremely talented team. They're a really physical team, and they've controlled, they've really controlled the offensive and defensive lines in almost every game this year. And how Benny Snell has looked, and just the fact that front seven is extremely stout, and what they and the challenge that they can potentially have, but potentially present to Georgia and the SEC East that really looked like coming into the year that Georgia was going to win pretty handedly. Now it's probably going to be a more competitive race now with how Kentucky's looking. What have been your thoughts on Kentucky? Because you said even with the win against Florida, Benny Snell and he was impressive, but the quarterback play was even more impressive. What's kind of stood out to you the most so far?
It's the running game that's keeping these guys going. The play of the defense in the run game. Because you look at the stats from the passing realm from receiving quarterback, it's terrible. He went 8 for 14, 71 yards, 1 interception. They relied on Snell. They go as far as the running game takes them. That's the MO of Kentucky. He's been doing that for the last 3 years. That's why he's the most consistent thing on the offense, on the team, to be frank. But it's working for them. They beat a ranked team, number 14. Now they're number 17. Now they play. Their schedule is pretty tough. They have some upcoming games that will test them. But now they go into South Carolina, the top dogs. They're not the underdog anymore, like the normal years. And then you play Georgia down the line. That would be a great test for what team are we? Are we the real deal right now? Right now, I'll say the running game is the real deal. Snell is a phenomenal runner. This is his 15th career 100-yard game, 165 yards with 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's crazy. They relied on the running game. The pass game was null and void. It wasn't over. The highest guy was Conrad for 22 yards, 2 receptions. So the pass game it's the running game.
Yeah, and with South Carolina, both teams average 34 points, and the Kentucky, they've been able to limit their 4 opponents to an average of 13 points. So with both teams, being having a high scoring average, do you think it's going to be it's going to be one of those things where it could possibly be a shootout, but also what defense steps up more, it will probably win the game.
I think you just answered your own question, Wellington. But yeah,
Yeah.
It's going to come down to the defensive play. Can South Carolina's defense stop one of the high power run games? I think they're number 21. No. They're running out the Well, they're 11th. Oh, I'm sorry, they're 11th.
Oh wow.
In rushing. That's crazy. I didn't know they were that high. That's crazy. So can they stop that? I mean, Snell has been playing like a madman. I think it will come down to the defense. The battle in the trenches. That's what this headline should have. South Carolina versus Kentucky, which is crazy. South Carolina hasn't been good for a couple years since Jadeveon Clowney left. And then Wildcats have been struggling for the past ever years. So now it's going to be the battle in the trenches. Can they stop the run game? And South Carolina has to get going for right off the back. They have to be consistent. And I think that's what they've been lacking in the last couple games. But they're 3-1. They have an opportunity to douse a hot team. Let's see if they can do it. It's going to be definitely a battle in the trenches now.
Yeah. Another team that's been kind of, maybe a little more surprising in terms of how they've started this season is Texas. And, after that first week against Maryland, it kind of felt like, okay, this is going to be the same script as it's been the last couple of years. A lot of hype, a lot of expectation, but the delivery, they don't deliver. And now they're 3-1, their first 3-game winning streak since 2014, and their best start since Mac Brown was there, and they were 4-0 in starting off the season in 2012. And the main difference has been they've actually been able to close games. Against TCU this past week and against USC a couple of weeks ago, they've actually been able to close games, and that was one of the biggest downsides to how the game played out and how things played out for them in the season. So with them beating TCU now and them being ranked for the first time in a while, are you buying the hype a little, or is it still going to take some time for you to actually decide if this is legitimate?
I think it definitely takes time because they're in the rebuilding stages. They have been for a while, but now you beat two top 10, 25 teams, to ranked opponents, to be honest. And you do it in a manner that's not, a small feat, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
These guys might be the real deal, but I don't think they are. I think when they come into another point when they play Baylor and teams like that, I think when the rival is really high, when they play Oklahoma and teams like that, I think they'll be. But the defense is playing good. 4 turnovers, 3 by the quarterback. What's his name? Sean Watson.
Oh,
no, TCU.
Oh, okay.
I think he threw 3 interceptions or he had fumble one time. But 4 turnovers by your defense, big time. In the third quarter was huge for them. Like you said, Sam threw 2 touchdowns and ran for 1 all in the third quarter. I mean, when your quarterback's playing like that, you're going to win ball games. And your defense is making turnovers. Forcing turnovers is the best thing a defense can do. But right now, I still think they're behind a little. I don't buy in. I can't buy in. We tried to buy in last year, and they got embarrassed by Maryland 2 years in a row. So I can't buy in just yet.
So just how the past couple of years have, ended and just the the promise that was there, but then it not delivering. Is that kind of like why you're hesitant? Like, okay, no, like I've seen how this goes. It's already played out so many times. Like this is just gonna continue to be the final script for them.
Sure, I wouldn't say the final script, but sure, like it's a couple, not even a couple. It's probably 10 teams in the whole NCAA where you have high expectations. Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas
Georgia.
Is definitely one of the Georgia. High expectations for these teams because in the past years they've been high caliber teams. national championship acquired teams. LSU is one of those teams that in Auburn, like expectations are higher. So when the new head coach came in, we want results, and everybody bought into him wanting to win. But then last year was a complete dumpster fire, to be honest, to be frank. So you can't now. You bought in 1 year, and then you got disappointed, and now you can't buy in the second year. And yeah, you're 3-1, but I'm still not convinced just yet. It's not the Texas team we used to seeing.
Yeah. And I mean, the last thing I'll say about this is how they've been able to close these games. I mean, it's kind of been in dominant fashion. They outscored USC and TCU by combined 42-3 in the second half. So, I mean, they are having really dominant second halves, but like, just like you said, like, I don't really, I think when they like face even more elite competition, or even just more heated rivalries like Baylor and then, West Virginia, Oklahoma, like teams like that will finally see their true colors. And I don't think they're that team that, has really turned it around, even though they have gotten to a more impressive start. Transitioning to the most interesting games of this upcoming weekend for college football. Stanford Notre Dame is well, speaking of Stanford, what were the Stanford Oregon game? That was my most interesting game of last week. And this is another thing. I don't know if you remembered this, but I said when we were talking about the Texas A&M Alabama game, I said this has to be close, right? No, it doesn't. A game with Alabama never has to be close, and that one was just that offense is just phenomenal. And Tua is, in terms of the top 3 Heisman contenders, and that offense is just continuing to get better, even with the tight end development. But with the Oregon-Stanford game, that was a game Oregon really should have won. The run game for Stanford wasn't going. Herbert had like a 92% completion percentage. Like, I think that was the highest of any Pac-12 quarterback in a while in a Pac-12 game. What were your thoughts on how that game kind of ended, and Costello really being huge for them, and how with Stanford it's like David Shaw says, if the running game is not going, we're gonna rely on those one-on-one matchups, and we think we can win them.
Well, I thought it came down to the wire. Obviously 38-31, but I think the hat goes off to the Stanford defense, especially. And then, what his name? Alameen Murphy intercepted Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert at the in the end zone. That's big. That's huge. Not just for your team, but for yourself. That is a huge play. That's a clutch play. And Bryce Love, he sat out last week, come back this week, coming to a decent Oregon's defense. I mean, he didn't have a terrible game. He had 89 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, he didn't do bad, but I think the defense stepped up the most, because even though they gave away 31 points, I know that's how did they step up? They gave 31 points. Yeah. They played their heart out when it mattered the most. When adversity is staring in your face, what do? You can give up points all you want, but all it matters is about the W and the L's in the columns, and they got a W that night. So. I thought it was a great game. It came down to the wire, man. I was like, whoa. But I thought they didn't get Bryce Love going as much as they wanted to due to the defense kind of keying on him. But I think other than that, the defense played well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, transitioning to some of the interesting games this week, Stanford Notre Dame is one. I'm going to go with West Virginia Texas Tech, because that's going to be a really good one. And, Texas Tech has had some impressive wins over Houston and then Oklahoma State, like both really convincing wins. And Will Grier with that offense, it's going to be an offensive shootout. I think last year he had like 3 fourth quarter touchdowns after they were down by like 11 points against Texas Tech. And West Virginia has really had has had a lot of success against Texas Tech in the past. And to me, this is a game where it really can be it's going to be interesting to see if West Virginia's offense can continue to keep that up on the road, in an environment that, can lend itself to maybe, due to the weather, maybe sloppy offensive play and things of that nature. But to me, in terms of the Big 12 and how huge the race down the road is going to be, because, West Virginia has that, I think that home game against Oklahoma, like the last week of the season. And if they can possibly be undefeated, I don't think they'll be, but if they can be undefeated going into that game, we'll give them a great chance for more success and the Big 12 championship. So that's my game. What's yours?
I'm going to take Oklahoma and Baylor, man. Really? For a couple of reasons. What Army did or was able to do against Oklahoma's defense just shine light on the lack thereof, to be honest. We all know Oklahoma's defense is not the best or the toughest defense, but Army put up a lot of numbers in it. I like Baylor. I like Baylor's wide open offense, and they run a little triple option. And it's the Big 12. It's a conference championship game. Not a conference championship, but a conference game. Yeah. Sorry. A conference game. So they always play well against Oklahoma. So I like Baylor. I'm going to say Baylor won't win, but it will be a good game just based off what Army did, what they were able to do against Oklahoma's defense. I don't know. Their defense is kind of – they might get knocked off. We thought they'd get knocked off last week, but Baylor might be able to do it.
And the thing with me is, like, a game like that against Army, it just kind of solidifies what I think about Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is going to have a chance to be in the Final Four, but also that defense isn't going to be enough for them to win it all. And that's kind of like they have a really good coach, a dynamic quarterback, a great offensive scheme, but the defense is not enough. And that was the storyline last year, even against Georgia. Like, all of those things were there still, but the defense wasn't enough. Before we leave college football, I'm shocked we didn't say this. I thought you were going to say this game, but the biggest game of the week is Ohio State, Penn State, and it's a pretty big game. The two highest scoring offenses in the nation, and with Ohio State, them losing, Bosa being out for about, I think, 6 weeks, but the defensive line is still deep, still a lot of depth there. And then Penn State having a lot of these big interconference games are at home, so they have a manageable schedule to a more manageable schedule to have a lot of success. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's a reason why I didn't pick them as, I think, the most interesting game, because I don't know. I'm not sold on either team. I think Tracy McSorley is not a complete quarterback. I really don't like him at quarterback, but his running ability has kept a lot of. Yeah, I don't, because you saw last year when he had Saquon Barkley, and they kind of like fizzled out at the tail end of the season where everybody thought they would be a contender to be in the playoffs. But him as a complete quarterback, I don't see it. But his running ability, him being able to scramble and move around, is his ticket for them. But that runs thin. So I'm not big on that offense. What are their identity without that? And they haven't played any big opponent until now in Ohio State. We'll see if they can stop him with – is Joey Bosa – not Joey Bosa.
Nick.
It is Joey, right? Little brother.
I thought it was Nick.
Nick. Okay, Joey is the one that plays with the Chargers.
Yeah.
I always get the brothers mixed up. Like JJ, no, it's TJ and JJ. See, those are easy. But Nick Bosa, okay, you couldn't pick a better name than that. But I'm joking. But no, I want to see if they can stop
both parents.
Yeah, I mean, because Ohio State has struggled with the teams that have a dual threat quarterback. They have struggled in recent years. So we'll see. But I just know it's a big game because, one, they score a lot of points. But then I'm not excited because they have no defense. none of these teams has defense in the Big 12, Big 10, and these conferences. I'm really not excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for Penn State to win this game, it's going to have to be a shootout because I don't see Penn State's defense stopping Ohio State's offense, and I think with Haskins, he's such a vertical passing threat, and they have so many weapons on the outside. That's going to be like really key for Penn State to stay in the game. That's why I would give the edge to Ohio State, because even though they don't have Bosa, and that's an impact player, one of the best players in the country, they still have a ton of depth, and that's to me that's why I would give the slight edge to Ohio State still, just because I think that offense is more dynamic than Penn State's, even though Penn State's offense is really good, and the defense is and they've been tested. Like that's the thing. Like Ohio State had one of the most impressive non-conference wins, and Penn State, they were struggling against Illinois last week, and then Appalachian State the first week, and that's kind of my biggest question mark. Penn State really hasn't been tested yet,
and they will be tested.
Yeah, yeah.
This Saturday.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not really.
You have Penn State, or
I'm going Ohio State just because they don't have an identity outside the running ability of McSorley. Because you look at the run game, has been inconsistent, and they don't have one guy. And McSorley is one of those guys. He's number 2 in the running with 6 rushing touchdowns and 235 rushing yards. So if you're relying on your quarterback most of the time in your running game, then it's not opening up a lot of play action for you. And they struggle, like you said, struggle with Appalachian State, which is the Sun Belt Conference team, and you struggle with Illinois. So
the way you're talking about McSorley, you just sound like a disappointed dad. Like he just he hasn't progressed. He hasn't
progressed, but it's college football, so I have to progress that much.
Yeah,
but. So it's college football, so you don't have to progress as quickly as you do in the NFL, because in the NFL it's super fast, super fast. So it's I don't think I'm not big on it. I'm sorry. I'm not big on it.
Transitioning to New England, the loss against Detroit, it was one of those losses where, look, okay, Patricia, he has the strategy of doubling Gronk, making somebody else beat them, and that's something a lot of other teams, I'm shocked they haven't done that. They haven't tried that strategy, but obviously Patricia knows them well, and the Lions win handily. Now the Patriots are 1-2. The Dolphins are 3-0. You've got another familiar face with Amendola there, and Edelman's not back yet. Gronk doesn't look he doesn't look as dominant. I mean, like from the stretch of 2010 and 2012, Gronk was just a wrecking machine, and now it really doesn't look the same. And with them heading into Miami, and Miami getting off to a really good start, and all of the New England has gotten off to slow starts, and this is still September, and you still have to give it time to see how things develop. But with the slow start they're getting off to, do you think this is one of the things like we should just give them the benefit of the doubt because they've been in this situation so many times and they're kind of tried and true?
Yeah, of course, because they've done this before, and look, they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
last year they started slow. Last year, started slow the year before. It's kind of because they have so many movable pieces that have to gel together first, because they don't go after the big shot. Because if you double their big time receiver is Rob Gronkowski. They don't have a big time receiver. Chris Hogan is not a big time receiver. They got rid of Brandon Cooks. You bring in Josh Gordon, but he hasn't played yet. And now they think the hamstring is good, but he had to do a test for a hamstring. But other than that, you get rid of Mitchell that you drafted, and you don't have that sustainable wide receiver. They have a lot of movable pieces, role position type guys. So it takes a while to get the ball rolling, and you don't have a running game. You use 4 or 5 running backs. You James White out the backfield. You're trying to solidify Sonny Michel, running him, but it's the running game is not there. So you rely more on the pass, but you don't have the guy. They never had the guy. And one time, Randy Moss. And the years before that, I think Deion Branch, but he wasn't a big-time top 10 wide receiver. So they never had a big-time wide receiver. So it's a lot of movable parts, a lot of role players that have to get going. And you're out one of your best wide receivers for a suspension. He'll be back in 2 games. So we'll see what happens then. Maybe the running game starts working.
Yeah, and I mean, Sonny Michel didn't look good. And it's one of those things, even with James White, Rex Burkhead. I think Rex Burkhead is on reserve for this upcoming week, injury reserve for this upcoming week. But with this team, like I've said this before, but like on 3rd and 7s, when you have an Amendola or Edelman, you just Brady looked like more confident in the receivers, and when you and now having Philip Brissett and Cordell Patterson, there's not that same level of trust. Like I do think it'll eventually develop, but right now, early on, there's not that same amount of trust. With Brady, has there been anything different you've seen? Because look, he is even though his skill is at the peak of his powers. I mean, he's 41. Is there any like, oh, this Brady's finally looking his age, or he's not the same player like we always hear when they get off to these slow starts, or do you think that's not really a sustainable claim?
I think he's one of the players you can't say that about, because he doesn't throw many yards. He does enough for them to win. It's been like that for many, many years. Unless he has a big, deep wide receiver that goes to get the ball, and that's how he gets his yard. When he had Randy Moss, I think that's his yards was at his peak. But he's not a big 400, 500 yard quarterback. He's a guy who manages the game and he does the right things to move the ball continuously. That's what type of quarterback he is. He's an ordinary, extraordinary type quarterback, and you can't be inconsistent in that, because he's owned that for many, many seasons. So I think he's one of the type of players that you can't put that in the same sentence in his name. But like you said, it's wide receiver core is not as strong because, one, Edelman is out. Then you have guys doing cover 2, taking Gronk out of the position. And Cordell Patterson, he's been moved around the league. Philip Dorsett has been moved around the league. Those guys are not his typical wide receivers. Chris Hogan, Edelman, and maybe Josh Gordon can come in and help being a deep wide receiver. They don't have a deep wide receiver right now. Gronk is the guy who runs up the seam all the time. So if you take Gronk out, they're not afraid of the run game, and they're not afraid of Gronk anymore. Gronk is normal to the defenders. Look at the Jaguars. They kind of doused him down a little bit. And then Patricia had, he's a defensive coordinator. You've seen Tom Brady play and scheme for many, many years. So that was just a no-brainer for him.
Yeah. Transitioning to the LA-Minnesota game. First off, Minnesota's loss to Buffalo, completely unexpected. I mean, Josh Allen looked pretty good. Was in a game like that where Minnesota doesn't the defense is not as stout and not as effective as it usually is. Was that like a major? Did that alarm you in any way, or was it one of those things like where it wasn't their week? Josh Allen had looked more impressive than we thought he would, and it was they just won handily.
I think it was that. I think they came in with a scheme to kind of, rattle Josh Allen, and Josh Allen showed them that he's a mobile quarterback, leaping over guys, scoring rushing touchdowns. I don't think they game playing for that Josh Allen. And then that kind of transition. Now, when you're on offense, they blitz Kirk Cousins more, kind of showing little holes in the offensive line. I don't think any team has blitzed them or gave them pressure, because if Kirk Cousins has time, he's going to rip you apart. But I think the Bills' defense did an excellent job, rattling Kirk Cousins in the pocket and him throwing a couple I think he threw an interception, or just making things difficult for him. Because if you give him time, it's going to be hell to pay. But I don't think it was a bad loss. I think it was a good loss for them to realize where they're at, because they're still a good team. They still have the same weapons they did last year, and the defense is similar to last year. But I think the scheme, they prepare for a different quarterback than what they saw again on last Sunday. But I expect them to come out with a different type of energy, because you're playing one of the top teams in the NFL.
Yeah,
so
and
you can't come in mediocre at all.
Yeah, and the Rams have, I mean, they've been amazing. Just starting off, and the offense has been just extremely prolific. Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. They've all been really good, and even when you want to shut down, when your strategy is okay, let's shut down the run game with Gurley, you still have those weapons, and Jared Goff has been pretty good. This is a team to me that has the potential to go 14-2 or 15-1. Like, they can have that type of season, and just how the Falcons had that type of season a couple years ago, and the Panthers had a 15-1 season. Not saying it always translates to a deep run or a Super Bowl berth, but this is, to me, this is that type of team that can have that run. Are you where are you at with this team? Do you feel like, okay, this is a really good regular season team, or this can be a legitimate playoff threat?
If healthy, this is a legitimate Super Bowl winning football team. They're top 10 in every category.
Yeah.
Every category. Number 4 in passing. Number 6 in rushing on offense. 3rd overall as overall offense. And their defense is number 6 overall. That's incredible. Adding Ndamukong Suh, paying Aaron Donald, adding Marcus Peters, adding the weapons that you need to be a top 10 defense. That's crazy. In his 2nd year, that's crazy. Sean McVay is an incredible young head coach. He has a bright future. But these guys are the real deal. Their defensive line alone will win championships. You bring in guys like Sam Shields, who caught an interception. He had 11 snaps, 1 pass defense, 1 tackle, 1 interception. You bring in guys who went ball game. And he's a Super Bowl winning cornerback.
Yeah.
With the Green Bay Packers. I love Sam Shields. He's from Miami. So they just have the formula to win. I think they blitz. They see what the Bills did, and they blitz, and they're able to blitz. I don't think they have to be honest, because their front four can get to Kirk Cousins alone.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hard time. Dalvin Cook is going to have a hard time running against these guys.
And this is the thing, under teams that spent the most that had the most guaranteed money spent on players in 2018, the Rams are second, $238.3 million. Do you think this is an offseason where they were we're going all in? We really think this team can be that good, and we're gonna put the investment for that.
Of course, when you go get Brandon Cooks, from the Patriots, you go get Marcus Peters from the Chiefs, you go get guys. They want to win. The Rams are rebuilding and reimagining who they were before they went to St. Louis. They were good at St. Louis, of course. Super Bowl winning Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce. I forgot the other guy, Torrey Holt. Those guys, they're trying to get back to the glory days. I think they can do it. I was kind of a little off by Jared Goff. I thought he needed more opportunities, and he showed that he can be a good quarterback. And they gave him more weapons. Todd Gurley stepped up. He was injured a couple years. I thought he was going to be a bust from Georgia, but now he's showing that he's a double threat. Triple threat.
You thought he was going to be a bust?
Yeah, because he was injury prone. He was injured in Georgia. I didn't think he was going to make it. I thought he was going to continue to injure his knee. But now he's a triple threat running back, blocking, catching the ball in the backfield, and running the ball. And most of the time, he doesn't get big running yards anymore. He's more consistent in the passing game. Who go figure? But they have the formula. They have the weapons. They have the how-to.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to beat those guys.
I mean, this team is loaded. This is this is just a loaded team. Kansas City is another really good team, but
yes.
you look at the defense, it's not even comparable to what the investment the Rams have made. Can I just who do you have in that game? LA, Minnesota.
I'm going with LA.
Yeah.
Not by much. Probably 24-17 or 24-21.
Yeah. Transitioning to the NBA, this you've mentioned it before, but the rumors of Kyrie wanting to be in New York eventually for upcoming free agency, he just squashed that. He was like, no, I'm good here. This is a pretty good team, and in an interview with Rachel Nichols on Wednesday on The Jump, he talked about how he's really satisfied here, and he really feels like this is a special team. With him stating that, and obviously like this, we both think that this can be a pretty special Boston team this season, and we can't wait to see how they get running out of the gate. But what were your thoughts on his comments? And we've constantly reiterated it. We're a couple weeks away, and we're about to see how good this Boston team can be.
I thought finally you come to your senses. Why would you want to lead that type of caliber team for a team that doesn't even remotely compare to that type of team? You have, and then he said, the future. Yes, we're talking about the future, Kyrie. Not 3-4 years of being in the league and you're not, I think he finally realized how good they can be. And I think he finally talked to the guys and everybody's on the same page. I hope so. But him saying that they have to be on the same page, he has to see what the promise is. And to leave that team will be super, super crazy for him. I think it'll be the worst decision he'll ever make as an NBA player. You can't lead that type of team at all. Their guy's going to be crazy. Crazy. Rozier's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So you have, that's going to be crazy.
I just want to say that lineup is pretty scary. That starting lineup is
that
scary.
Lineup is more scarier than Golden State Warriors.
Really?
Lineup. I think so.
Wow.
I think so. Just given.
Well, this is the thing, because Golden State's not going to have Boogie at the start of the season.
But still, though.
So even with Boogie, you like that?
Yeah, I think they match up well. I think Al Horford can match up with Boogie. I think Hayward can match up with Clay. We know Kyrie can match up with.
They're going to go back. Yeah, they're going to vote. Kyrie and Steph are going to go back.
Yeah,
back and
I
forth
think
for blows,
Jason Tatum can stick KD. I probably butchered his name.
Jason Tatum?
Yeah. Okay.
No. I remember, I'm a Duke fan. I would correct you if you had messed up on Jason Tatum. I'm all in on Jason Tatum.
Of course. I think you stick KD. I think anybody can stick Draymond. So that's not really. I think Draymond's more a defensive guy than offensive guy. He can shoot threes every now and again, but I think they match up well. That's the only team in the NBA that can match up with the Golden State Warriors. Bench for bench and starting five.
Not the Rockets?
No, not the Rockets.
Yeah.
The Rockets have to make it to win.
Exactly. No. What I meant with what I meant by that is, I mean, Golden State's biggest threat. You would say Boston.
Yes, in the East is Boston. For West,
I mean, just overall,
yeah, it got to be Celtics. It has to be Celtics because they have a nice bench. You have Rozier coming off. You have Marcus Smart coming off the bench, who's your best defensive player, and then you have some more rotational guys. I think they have a great bench, but just overall, I don't like the Rockets bench, and we'll probably talk about that after this one. But I just don't like their bench as an overall. I give them a C. I give Boston a B+ at best. Because Rozier proved himself and Marcus Smart always proves himself as a defensive point. So yeah, I like the Celtics as the number one, seed against the Golden State Warriors, trying to knock them off their reign.
This is the thing though. Like, how important do you think home court advantage would be for them? Because if they stay healthy, like they can win a lot of games. Golden State, it's going to be interesting because like they don't really have to be the one seed. They're comfortable winning on the road, but in a finals, I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Like, how
Mhm.
much this home court advantage would you say matters for Boston? Because they're really good at home. They're really good at home in the playoffs.
It definitely matters. I think it matters for every team.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I think it matters for them because they're terrible on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed that against Cleveland. They couldn't beat Cleveland at home. And it kind of showed, but home field advantage it has to be the best opportunity for them to win because I mean stats doesn't lie. But I think the most important thing for either Golden State and the Celtics is the injuries. Can Steph Curry stay completely healthy through a whole entire season? Because they score more when he's on the court. I think it's 138, 128.
Yeah.
And when he's not on the court, I think it's like 116, 117.
I think it's 128 when he's healthy.
128, okay.
116, maybe like 116.
116, 117. So it's a complete difference. And KD's not a leader of offense. He's not one of those guys. He's not a LeBron James. And then having Steph Curry on the court kind of makes everything easier for everybody else. And then can the Celtics stay healthy? Can Gordon stay healthy? Can he go through an entire season? Can Kyrie stay healthy? A lot of questions around him. Is he completely healthy right now? So I think the injuries are most important. And then second will be the home field advantage, especially for the Celtics because they win better. Their chances of winning are better at home.
Yeah. But this can be a pretty special Boston team. Like do you see 60+ wins for this team if they stay healthy?
Yeah, they were going to go 60+ wins before Kyrie
already. Yeah, already. Yeah, they
so
were like 157. Yeah.
Yeah, so add Gordon and that Kyrie back and that all those guys playing together and the bench coming and the sixth man. I think the sixth man will probably be either Rozier or Marcus Smart. I don't know which one they'll pick, but
yeah,
guys, they're going to be scary. if everybody, like I said before, if everyone could buy in, I think Kyrie finally bought in to see how good.
He was just like, wait, like, whoa, this seems pretty good.
This like pretty good. These guys did this without me, without us, Gordon. So these guys are real deal. They can do it without us. So with us, it's going to be just a complete Sunday.
Yeah,
we got the cherries, we got the nuts, all the good stuff. A good complete Sunday.
Brad Stevens is like, all right, guys, here are all your Sundays. I'm the head chef. We're gonna win this thing.
In fact, they got all these guys on one team while drafting.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Transitioning to Miami and Jimmy Butler. The past couple of days, they've been the team projected to kind of be the top, the team with the best chance now, and trade talks have kind of stalled. With this, it's interesting because if the Heat didn't have to give, the Heat would probably have to give up Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow, and maybe even Bam Adebayo, and probably keep. They would probably still want to keep. I'm blanking out on his name, the center.
Whiteside.
Well, yeah, Whiteside. Because I don't think Thibodeau would be pretty much useless. Already having Towns. But with that and the Heat possibly having to give up young assets, obviously you'd want that for Jimmy Butler. You were saying the Knicks last time we were talking about the Jimmy Butler trade situation. Is it still the Knicks for you, or do you think Miami or another team could have the best chance of acquiring him?
I don't think it was for the trade. I think after his seat, he become a free agent next summer.
Oh yeah.
I thought he would go to the Knicks because Kyrie's contract is up in the summer too. Because we still don't. It's still a possibility that Kyrie can leave because he hasn't signed an extension or said anything about a deal is being done for him to stay there long term because they got to pay other players, especially Tatum. So. It's still a possibility, but right now, if they trade, I don't think a trade will go through because Thibodeau is asking for a lot. In which, I wouldn't blame him because he will have to give up another guy to come with Jimmy. I don't know who that guy will be, but right now, it's Miami is a front runner, and then the Clippers could get him. Even Houston Rockets could put for him. And even the Cleveland Cavaliers can pull for him too. But it just depends on what Thibodeau's counter offer is for the other teams. He's making things more difficult because he is the president and the head coach. But he's heard stories that he's trying to get Jimmy back to practice, but Jimmy refused, and he doesn't want to be with the team. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the team until they trade him. So things are looking a little messy. Looking like a little bit of a situation we had early in the summer with a guy who can't laugh correctly.
I'm a fun guy. Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
We're convinced. We are so convinced.
It's like his heart was hurting, man. Oh my gosh.
So with the talk stalling, do you think, like, let's say they're not able to deliver a trade, like how long do you think Butler would hold out?
I think it's to a point where there's confrontation with all the players, with Jimmy, like Andrew Wiggins coming after him, saying different things, and then with Karl Anthony Towns, and then with Thibodeau. You know, he loves Thibodeau, but it's just like, I don't want to be there. And I think he holds that entire season. Because he wants the big contract. It's so similar to Kawhi Leonard. He wants the 5-year big contract from any team. But he's, 29 years old?
29. So
he's coming to a point where his productivity, and he's been injured before. He's been battling injuries throughout his entire career. So what team will spend that? Because if a team gets him, he still has the option to leave if they take over his contract. So it's just like Kawhi Leonard's situation, which is super, super funny and crazy. But I hope Miami doesn't go all in on Jimmy. I'd rather him go to the Clippers or the Rockets where he can win. He has a chance to win. Yeah,
and it's with Miami. It's one of those things like, can we even keep him longer than a year? Like, is even going to be like convinced that like this is the place he wants to be? So that's going to be really interesting. But the next time we talk, do you think he'll be traded by then, or do you think this will still be going on and trade talks stalling?
I think it'll be still more stall because Thibodeau is trying to get
he's pretty adamant.
Yeah, he's trying to get something for him because he's looking to build, because his first year there was pretty successful, even though they lost, the first round of playoffs, but they got there in over
13 years.
Yeah, 13 years. I'm sorry, 13 years. So that's kind of big. So he wants to continue that momentum, and now you're one of your star top guys doesn't want to be there anymore. So I'm trying to get everything I have, some younger guys to come in to make an immediate impact. But that deal won't be done by next week.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Well, to close it out, ESPN's Kim McMahon's reported that the Rockets are planning on starting Eric Gordon over Carmelo, and it's D'Antoni. He wants to pair Carmelo with an elite or a strong defender in James Ennis. And kind of like accentuate Ennis's strengths as a defender. And with Gordon, when he was on the floor with Harden and Paul, they outscored opponents by 71 points in 148 minutes. So really elite, in a really elite offense when he's on the floor, in addition to Harden and Paul. With Carmelo, he's obviously still has a lot of pride, still in a player who can score at a high rate, but just not deliver the defensive necessities that this Houston team needs. So how do you see this playing out with Gordon projected to start and Carmelo having to adapt coming off the bench, which seemed inevitable?
It's so crazy how fast he switched from, I'm not sacrificing no bench role, so that's out of the question, to whatever I have to do to help this team with the winning championship, that's what's going to be done. I think a couple players had to talk to him about it. I think Chris Paul was number one and James was probably number two. to talk to him about what the team actually needs. And him on the court, I think things will be still chaotic because it'll be a lot of isolations. But with Chris Paul at the range running the offense and Eric Gordon, like you said, they score way more when he's on the court with those guys. I think it benefits them way more. Now, if you bring Carmelo off the bench, now he's matched up with guys. He could take over games with guys coming out, the role players coming in, him, coming off the bench. I think that's perfect for him because he hasn't lost a step on offense, but I think the defensive side of his game is getting highlighted more in his later years of his career because Carmelo has never played defense ever, but it wasn't a factor because he always scored 40 points or 30 points a game or whatever whatever the case may be. Now in later years, he's getting shopped around different places. People want him to play defense, so we're not going to give you all these PT time if you're not going to be the player that we need you to be. But for him, he has to buy in. There's no way around it. He has to buy into what the Rockets are wanting to do. But him all them guys on the court, I think it'll be more chaotic than calm. I think Eric Gordon definitely should start.
Yeah. And before we close it out, the last thing with this. Two of his most successful seasons was with really successful point guards. Chauncey Billups back in Denver, and then Jason Kidd when the Knicks won 54 games. Playing with a very decisive and a very strong floor general in Chris Paul, and also a guy he's really good friends with. Do you see the process being a little more easier and him being a little more willing to adapt now that he's playing with a guy like Chris Paul and a guy he's known very well?
I think so. I think Chris Paul is like Black Widow to the Hulk, That's a terrible analogy. Oh, wow. Well, that's the best one I thought of. But
fun guy.
I think he's one of the guys who can talk to someone and make them see the bigger picture. And I don't know. I think that he has to do this because we've just seen how you decline from year after year. And I wish he would have never went to the Knicks. I thought he should have, went to a team where he could actually win a championship. But he was chasing the dollar sign. And now that dollar sign he still made a lot of money from the Hawks. And
didn't play one day.
One day. So he made a lot of money doing that. Ooh, wow. So I think.
How much money was it?
Was it like $25 million?
Wow. Goodness.
I think he got like $25 million. It was up there. It was like a ridiculous number. Like, whoa. Why? Why did the Hawks get him? Like, I don't. Just business decisions are so, I don't know. It's just confusing to me. But I think him being able to talk to Chris and then having that, rapport from, being in the league many years. And then just James there too, just saying look, bro, we know how good you are. We know that you can take over a game, but that's not what we need here. You came here to win a championship. So if you want to win a championship, this is what we need from you.
Yeah.
So I don't think Russell. I think you can listen to Russ or Paul and be like, "No, I'm not doing that." But you can listen to Chris and James and be like, "Look, bro, we don't need that player. We have that player. Hi, my name is James Harden. So we need you to be a sixth man. There's nothing wrong with coming off the bench. Manu Ginobili came off the bench for many, many years.
Yeah,
and he's considered one of the top 10 point guards, shooting guards of all time. So just kill your pride, man. You're in the later years. You got a 1-year deal, make your money, win a championship.
Getting $25 million from the Hawks. Come on.
I was really. Oh my God, that was a crazy deal. Crazy deal. He didn't play one lick a minute on the court. He didn't even practice with these guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for tonight. I'm your host, Valencia Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later.